Hey y'all, welcome back to Poplar Creek Farm. Today is planting day. Although I've been in the garden working a lot over the last couple weeks, we've planted a bunch of things. Today is tomato planting day and I'm very excited about that. That's always like my favorite day of the year. So I'm gonna be getting all my tomatoes in. They're all set out. I set them out. They're set out, but they're probably gonna move a bunch because a lot of my plants have two in it. And I wanted 4 rows, and right now I've got 3 3.25 of a row. So I've got space to add. So I will separate a lot of those, and then I'll have more. We planted all of our squash down here the other day. I have butternut squash, honey nut squash. What is the other one? I've got spaghetti squash. I've got some sugar pie pumpkin, some Howden Select, which is like a jack-o'-lantern pumpkin. Buttercup squash, which is for my mother-in-law. She I guess likes those, so I told her I'd grow a bunch. She did save seeds from a buttercup squash that she bought somewhere. She's gonna grow those too at her house, but she doesn't have a huge garden, so I figured I'd grow some for her. We've got watermelon and cantaloupe planted down there too. Now over here you see, obviously we are in a bit of a jungle of weeds. These are all peas, like that whole row is peas right there. But a lot of weeds. This first row was carrots, but I was weeding it yesterday. And I got about 10 feet in weeding from the other end. And I'm like, there's like 12 carrots. Like, why am I taking the time to hand weed all this when very few carrots germinated? So we're going to reset this bed, and I'm going to sow it heavily with carrots. And then I'm going to put actually this brown craft paper. I'm going to put that over top of it to keep the seeds nice and wet and keep them in place, so that hopefully they germinate, and then we'll remove the paper in a couple days. I'll keep an eye on them for germination. This is beets, and you can see at the end I was weeding it and I have a ways to go. This isn't as bad. This middle section, it's a lot of this crabgrass that we have. So I got to get that weeded, and then the peas I weeded, radishes I kind of have to pull through, and then this was supposed to be lettuce, but nothing's growing. So we'll kind of reset that. And then those 2 rows next to it aren't planted yet. So I will basically I'll take the stirrup hoe through them, and I might even take my little hand tiller, or my little, it's a little gas power tiller. It's tiny. It just kind of stirs up the top. It doesn't go down at all. I might do that just to kind of agitate those weeds, get those out of the way before I plant herbs and flowers and things in that. So my goal today though, my big goal, is to get all the tomatoes planted, maybe peppers planted too if I have time. We'll see. I have a little help this year. So we got the woven weed fabric. So I'll be using my little torch to burn holes. But I've learned very quickly that the edges of these holes are very sharp. Where we burn them, it actually kind of hurts your hand. So like this part is actually very sharp, and it's very uncomfortable to put your hand into. It's also hard to kind of dig down in just a small hole, but I don't want to put a big hole because that's just more space for weeds. So what I'm gonna do is, I got this handy dandy auger tool. It just goes on the drill. I'm very excited about this. And I will drill down so I can plant these tomatoes nice and deep. And I have a little bit smaller auger. I might need the smaller auger. This is kind of big, but we'll see. So all the tomatoes planted, and then this evening the kids are gonna plant this garden. This is their space. I put the brown paper down just so they don't have to fight weeds quite as much. It will break down over time, and it'll go away this summer, I'm sure, but it gives them some time, some space where they're not having to fight weeds, which will be nice. So let's get planting. So first I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna burn all the holes. I'm just gonna kind of slide those back because I want them right in the middle. And I'm gonna burn all the holes in one row, and then we'll plant and then kind of go from there. Again, they're kind of close together, but I do prune really heavily. These rows in between the tomatoes are going to be beans. I've always done tomatoes, beans, and it always works out really well. It gives the tomatoes a little more aeration, between, because if I have them really close together, there's not as much airflow. The beans also are a nitrogen fixer, which I think kind of benefits the tomatoes a bit. And a lot of times what I'll do then is the next year I'll flip-flop them. So then the tomatoes are where the beans had been. And it always works out really well. All right, so first row, holes are all burned. I'm gonna go ahead and start at the other end, take the auger, and I'm not gonna I'm gonna kind of do it as I go. I was gonna possibly auger all the holes first and then put them all in, but I think it's just easier to do kind of one at a time. So let's go plant some tomatoes. So this is very much a learning process using this auger. I just augered the hole and it loosens up the soil. I just have to still move it out of the way a lot. So this is my first set of plants. This is 2 that I'm gonna go ahead and separate. This is Amish paste, which is an heirloom paste tomato. So just gently separating the roots. And I am planted down as deep as I can get it in this hole. Put all this dirt back. And then I'm gonna take off these bottom leaves. And kind of just get it up as much as I can. And then I'm gonna auger this next one. Yeah, it's really nice. I'll show you guys up close in a second. This soil, we added a lot of compost to it, and oh my gosh, it's so much healthier. The amount of worms in our soil now, it's insane. So, first 2 tomatoes in the ground. So let me show you guys what it looks like when I auger it. All right, so I have it on forward first. It's like if I were screwing into the wall. Try and put some pressure. This is one-handed though. And then back it out. So it doesn't look like it makes a big hole, but as soon as you can just move that dirt aside. It just really loosens it up, makes it easy to plant right into. So I've got about half a row done. It's going pretty quick this way. I already am ahead a couple tomatoes, so I'm splitting them, and we're gonna definitely have more than the 3 1/4 row. I'll be able to move stuff down, which is good. I really wanted 4 rows of tomatoes, and I gave my neighbors some tomatoes. I could have held on to them and waited, but honestly, I have so many that have doubles. I do not need them. I have pretty much double what I actually have laid out, so I'll still have to sacrifice some. And I am some really tiny ones. If they're really pitiful, they're a second one. I'm sacrificing them. That's okay. But I'm going to go ahead and get planting the rest of this, and I will show you guys when it's all done. Well, guys, it is much later in the day. It's mid-afternoon now. It was early morning. When I first shot the first part of this video, we got a ton done today in the garden. My husband weed whacked all this mess. It was a disaster back here. It was probably, thigh high. So it was pretty bad. I have my 4 rows of tomatoes planted, and yes, I got a full 4 rows, and I still had tons of tomatoes left over that I was able to give to my neighbor. Drying beans in this row. This is black beans, kidney beans, cannellini beans, and kidney beans, because you see that rock. These are cannellini beans. We only had a smaller pack of the cannellini. Then I got tomatoes. This is snap beans. So this row is green beans, and it's dragon tongue, and then it's gold rush. Snap beans. Peppers are in. Lots of peppers. There's a few more peppers in the front of this row. I didn't have enough space in this row here. Eggplants are in. Herbs, lots of chamomile. And then I planted lots of flowers at the end of that. The rest of that row is all flowers. So got a lot in today. Cucumbers and okra are already in this row. We already got those planted a bit ago. So pretty much everything's planted. I have to reset some of this row. This row has some zucchini and summer squash in it. The rest of that row was empty, and I'm just gonna kind of get rid of the weeds and everything before I plant. I'm gonna plant kohlrabi and maybe some rutabagas. And I'm going to replant carrots tonight and cover them. And then this is the beet row that I need to get weeding. The only thing after that needs to get planted is this front of this row. It was gonna be lettuce. And I don't think we're gonna do much in the way of lettuce, or I don't know exactly what I'm gonna do there yet. Because the lettuce I had was heat tolerant, but the seeds got wet, and so they were ruined. And I don't have any other heat tolerant lettuces. I have other lettuces, but I don't really want them to be ones that are just gonna go right to seed. So I'm not totally sure what I'm going to do in this section, but I'll figure something out to put in there. And then lastly, sweet potatoes will be coming this coming week, and that'll get planted. And then the garden is completely planted and ready to go. I just have to maintain things. So the tomatoes look a little pitiful right now, as do the peppers, because it's really warm out, it's sunny. I kind of should have waited to the evening to do that, to put them in. But I did water all the bases of them. I didn't water on top of them so they don't get sun damage. And I think they'll be fine. It's supposed to rain overnight. So garden is pretty much in. Tonight the kids are going to do their garden, and I'm excited for that. I also do have a bunch of sunflowers to plant, and I'm just kind of stick those everywhere. Any empty spots, I'm sticking sunflowers. So I am super excited that it is finally, the garden's finally pretty much in, and we get to just kind of wait now and see everything grow, and hopefully be harvesting before too long. Things like squash, we'll be harvesting in probably a month and a half. So that's exciting. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. Remember, we're growing today for a better tomorrow. Please like and subscribe and join me on the next one.